Okay. Um, not many people in here, but we'll make it work. Doesn't really matter. Um, for all the people who are watching this on YouTube, there's stuff like this that happens in this Discord server all the time. If you would like to watch, if you would like to come and see those IRL, go to rosefolk.xyz, ROSEFOLK dot xyz. Give it a look, or just search Rosefolk. It'll come up. So self-awareness. Now I've done ones. I've done things like this before, but I've never done anything touching on these subjects, and they are important subjects inside of self-awareness. So, a couple things that I will say. Number one, there is no dogma in this. There is no. What I'm saying here should not be taken as and is not, objective facts. It's not. You shouldn't think of this as reading have like a science textbook, because that's not what this is. This is, I'm giving you ideas, you think about them and you come to your own conclusions on them, and hopefully by coming to those conclusions, it will improve some area of your life, or it will come in useful at some point. If it doesn't, whatever, you've just lost a bit of time. If it does, good. Second thing, this is live, right? This is done live. Everything here is done live. There's no point in doing this live if nobody asks questions. I want to be interrupted. I want people to ask things. I want people to say what's on their mind, because I don't want people leaving and thinking about it and thinking like, I said this and I didn't agree with this, but 9 times out of 10 it's a misunderstanding. It's not that you don't agree or something. It's just the wording. I know that's like contentious. I know that's not everybody will agree with that, but if you're watching this on YouTube, you can't argue about this. But it's being able to ask questions and discuss is the important part of it. I could just record these on my own, but I don't. And neither will anybody else who does this kind of stuff, because the important thing is you've got somebody there who knows about the subject to talk to and ask questions. We want like a Socratic thing, anything all ask about it. So this is first and foremost something which is very, very difficult to teach or to talk about. Self-awareness is an invisible thing. It's not like... It's nothing that can be... you can't measure it. And unlike certain other mental phenomenons, it's like... It can kind of gaslight you. It can make you think... just talking about it can make you think that you're more or less self-aware than you actually are. So an important part of self-awareness as well is understanding where you are at and doing that properly, which is difficult. It's really, really hard to teach. So I there's lots and lots of things here that I might seem to gloss over or whatever, but I'm not glossing it over. I am. It's hard to talk about, and it's also hard to talk about because this is something which is independent to each individual. It's only, I can't look at you and say, you're not very self-aware, or you are, because it's something which is independent to each person. So, on that note, let's get off. So, I will say that I did another one. I did a self-awareness workshop in a different one. I think it's on this YouTube channel, the YouTube channel that this will be uploaded to. Obviously, it's not only for things that I do, but that lecture is also on the YouTube channel. So if you want to know a bit more about that, then go and watch that video. You don't have to. So I'm going to jump straight into this. So I have done quite a bit of research on this topic. Not on this topic, but on a whole load of different topics, and I realised that quite a lot of them congregate. I realised that quite a lot of things that seem completely different aren't, and they link. So here, I'm going to refer to the process by which someone would attain self-awareness as scouting. And by scouting, I mean like, I don't know. You'll understand it later, but that's the process that I'm talking about. So yes. Now, through my research of a whole load of different things, completely unrelated at first, they began to become more related. So let's start off with we're going to start off with Steiner, because that's the kind of background for this. So Rudolf Steiner, he is always talking about how people need like a mathematical approach to things, how sound understanding of mathematics can lead to a sound understanding of everything else. Me, someone who hates maths, I disagree with this. But I don't disagree with the fact that he did it. He came to a sound understanding of maths, and through that, he came to a sound understanding of everything else. But there was some part of me that, I knew that there was something else going on here. So I'll go into my research on other things, and I know I'm talking about me a lot here, but just trust the process. Doing my research into the Kibbo Kift, the kindred of the Kibbo Kift. This is a crazy topic. It's very, very hard to research, but it's really, really cool, and it's really, really rewarding. Anyway, Kibbo Kift, the kindred of the Kibbo Kift, is the organisation, and Kibbo Kift means proof of great strength in some Celtic language, I believe. I might be wrong in what language it comes from, but it means proof of great strength. And the guy who founded the kindred, called John Hargrave, he would always talk about how, it's a process of becoming Kibbo Kift. And then when you're Kibbo Kift, you can go and tell other people how to be Kibbo Kift, and you can go and live in the woods. So the Kibbo Kift was like an alternative to scouting, because John Hargrave was kicked out of the scouts. He used to be super high up, but the people who were funding the scouts said, no, you can't be there. By the way, depending on where you are, Boy Scouts, that movement. And he was kicked out, and he founded his own thing, and that's what the Kibbo Kift is. With no war, it's pacifist. Not pacifist, but like it's not militaristic, is the right word. And to be Kibbo Kift, you have to do all this, it's not a specific process, different for everybody. People are more proficient in some things than others. But through woodcraft, you become Kibbo Kift. And this is something that I can personally relate to a lot more. But at the same time, looking at it, I still had that same feeling of, this can't be the only way. Like, John Hargrave did it, probably lots of others did it, but it's not the only way to become Kibbo Kift. And I also realised that these movements, they use a lot of the same. So Steiner talked about acquiring like mathematical thinking. John Hargrave talked about being Kibbo Kift. They make it seem like the end goal of the process is different to anything else, and that it's higher than anything else. And this leads me on to the final movement that I would like to talk about today, the Dianetics movement. Now, L. Ron Hubbard, you might have heard of it. I'm not going to go too deeply into that because there's a lot to say about that. But Dianetics and Scientology, the goal of it, at least in the first step, at least in the first section, is to attain a state known as clear through undergoing specific processes and specific things until you can finally become clear. Which is broadly the side effects of that are heightened self-awareness along with a whole load of other things. So that made me think. I only realised this recently, but the only defect in any of these systems is the fact that they do not. They think that they're the only system. They think that they're the only system that works. When in reality, all of them work. All of them are valid, and all of them will get you to the same place. The same place. Now, being kibo-kift, acquiring mathematical thinking, and being clear. That's not the bar. That's not the limit. But that's the generally higher self-aware person where you can go and you can choose and you can say, this is what I want to do, and you can go and do it. So getting to that is obviously a big task, and all of these different people who've found that state have documented their way of getting to that state, and they have said, hey, this is the only way, because they've never got to compare or contrast with other people who have done similar things. They feel like it's different, because how could somebody who's went through loads of Dianetic therapy be similar to the state of somebody who is kibo-kift, who's just been in the woods a lot? But from my research, and you don't have to believe this, I can feel like I can confidently say that there is no one path to this state of advanced self-awareness. And again, the process via you get to self-awareness is scouting, or that's just what I want to call it. There's probably a good name for it, but I'm just stupid. So yeah, no, I hope you can understand what I mean by that. Because all of these systems are bringing you to the same state, and then you can then progress further from that state. But that state is the groundwork for the work that you're going to do in future, if that makes sense. So yeah, so there's a whole load of different paths to this state of advanced self-awareness. There's a whole load of different ways of scouting. There's the kibo-kift scouting, mathematical scouting, Dianetic scouting. There's a whole load of different things to get you to this initial state. And again, the only defect that I see with any of these paths, most paths to advanced self-awareness they work, but their defect is they don't recognize any other ones, and they see people who have attained the state of advanced self-awareness from other paths. They don't see it as the same, because it's I'm going to be kind of brief on this one, but people feel like that they're alone in the crowd of sheep, which I don't know how to best describe that, but it's like, it's when you feel like there's a crowd of sheep around you, and you're like, but I'm the real self-aware one, I'm the real one. But you're not alone in the crowd of sheep. You are also in the crowd of sheep. It doesn't matter what you think of yourself. Everybody's, and all the sheep think that they're alone in the crowd of sheep. So yeah. Now, the next thing. How do you go along this path of scouting? And now, how do you go along? And this is what the difference between this between this course, this lecture, and others, is that I'm recognizing that there are quote unquote brain worms. There are things that can cause you problems. So you need to learn how to scout without them. So the first thing that you need to do, and this isn't just like a threshold that you walk past and you can do whatever you want after it, but it's a process that you do while you scout, and you realize it's freeing yourself, but actually freeing yourself. So lots of people nowadays, they don't have the when they question things, when they question society, when they question things, they don't go to the root of it. Imagine you're a guy tasked with increasing profits for a quarter within a certain system of policies. You can come up with the most effective way for that. You can come up with a cold way for that. You can come up with a warm, human way for that. But it's important to, at some point, ask, hey, is it important that we do it within these confines? Do these policies... does this box that we're trapped in serve us? Or are we serving it? And if we're serving it, then we need to get out. So we need to be free. And we need to be free from lots of things. So I'm just going to start by asking some questions. Do you think that you are free? Do you think that when you buy something in person or online, that you are doing that because you want to? When you meet someone and ask them how they are, how they're doing, are you doing that out of freedom? Do you actually care what the answer is? Or are you just doing that? When you go to school, or when you went to school and you did some kind of qualifications, did you want to do that? Or is it just what to do? If that makes sense. There are a lot of things that you can look at them and you can think, yes, this is the most favourable path. This is the most favourable thing that I can do at this moment within these confines. The truth is, these confines are not there. And if these confines do not serve you, then it's time to get some new ones. Obviously, be realistic. But, yeah, you need to challenge things at the roots and not at just the surface level. You need to, because and this is all an internal process of scouting that happens across years, but you will find yourself questioning everything, and you need to do that. That's really, really important. Like, I do not like a language. I do not like speaking or writing because it's limiting. You know the languages where there's like a million different ways to say snow or to describe things that we don't have in English. We just assume that our language can adequately put forward our thoughts and what we want to put forward, but it's not true. We are limited by the language that we use. Unfortunately, we're not incredibly advanced spiritual beings yet, and we can't communicate with telepathy and literally just say what we want to each other in our heads without using language. So that is a bit of a hurdle. So we have to use language for now, but you need to question things at the root. You need to question things without regard for social norms and social anything. It should be coming from you. You are the only one in this. In this process, I'm not saying be a narcissist, but in the process of attaining self-awareness, it's a highly personal thing. So it's you. It's not anybody else. So if something doesn't serve you, you have to think, how can I get rid of it? I know that feels like a very privileged thing to say, and it is. We'll be honest, but obviously there are going to be some things which are unrealistic for some people, and there's nothing anybody can do about that. But just knowing, hey, this isn't the best, is a start. It's good. And maybe later in life you can escape whatever that is. But just thinking about it is good for you. And this is something, I'm going to put everything in a bit of perspective. And I like to do this. It's kind of not scummy, but it's like, it's not, it's like an underhanded tactic that I like to use, which is when you're in petty things, materialistic things, you need to tell yourself, hey, there's global warming happening. You know, there's bombs dropping somewhere in the world right now. And you're doing this. This is what you're choosing to do. Do you actually want to, like, when you go to the shop, do you actually want to go to the shop? Do you need more clothes? Or are you just feeding a social expectation that's been placed onto you? If you're just feeding a social expectation and you don't want to do whatever it is that you're doing, then stop it. It's only you that can stop. This is the thing that I keep saying. It's only you that can do the work. I can't do the work. I can say this to you, but this might just be words to you. It's only you that can do the work. I can't do the work. You have to do the work for you. I do the work for me, and everybody has to do the work for themselves. If you are, wrapped up in schoolwork or something, and you don't have time for anything, you don't have time to think. It's just wake up, eat, go to school, go home, do schoolwork, eat, and then sleep. And you don't have time to think or do anything you want to. Give up. It's that simple. You do not realize, if you think about it for 30 seconds, you will realize how genuinely detrimental that is to your ability to think independently and your ability to do things. B, you'll realize how detrimental it is to your, you might have been learning German or trying to do something, but you didn't have time, and it's just like, you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Not really. You don't care. It doesn't matter. And if it doesn't matter, then do something else. Figure out a solution. Think about it. Just think. And I also understand, and this brings us back to the point that I made at the beginning, that when you think, it's not, I can't tell you to think. I can, doesn't mean you're going to do anything. The work is in your hands, not mine. So let's have a look at something else. So there's this thing. Now, alchemy. Let's talk about alchemy. So alchemy is the art, mental, spiritual, physical art of taking things and making them better and improving them, purifying them. Taking things and creating something new with them. Taking the dirt and finding gold in it. And refining, or not even finding gold, compressing that dirt into a diamond. You need to go back and really think about things that happened in your life. Every year of your life, all the time that you've been alive, there were probably bad things happening to you. There were probably things making an imprint on you that you really, 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 really need to address. But if you're not thinking about them, then you're not realizing those imprints that are being made on you. And it's really, really important that you do, because you are the one responsible. If your thoughts and what you do is influenced by somebody else, and you don't realize that, you think that this is self-generated coming from you, but it's not. That's no So you need to go back, think about things, think about experiences you've been through, alchemize them. There's 3 stages. There is first stage, the blackening, which is where you reduce it to ash, to its core parts. And then the whitening, which is where you change it, purify it further. And then there's the reddening, where you... I don't even know how to describe the reddening, to be honest. There's this really good book on it called The Beginner's Guide to Alchemy. It's got like a pink cup on the front, I think. It's really good. But you need to do that on a spiritual level and on a mental level. And yeah. You don't need to, but it's important to recognize that things that happened in your past will probably be influencing you. So here's another thing. Let's talk about the media. Let's talk about media. There are lots of shows and things that come off as funny, but are actually genuinely really impacting the way that you think and the way that you think about certain things. So South Park is a really good example. Comes off as just like a silly show, but it makes scathing critiques of different religious organizations with no remorse. And quite a lot of the time, the people who see that, they just think, oh, this is fact, and it's funny. I like this. This is funny stuff. And they don't think about it. And then when they come into contact with people talking about those organizations, they think, hey, this is bad. Why do they think it's bad? Not because they've done their own research and found out about whatever it is that makes it bad or good, because they haven't done their own research. They're just taking these opinions and regurgitating them, but they genuinely believe that those opinions are coming from them. They genuinely believe that it's self-generated. It's not. You need to think about where you've got your opinions from. And also, here's another thing. You need to give yourself time to think. There are quite a lot of people who go home and just play games or watch movies all day and then go to sleep. Don't do that. That's really, really bad for you. You're not allowing yourself time to think. You need time to think. You need to be doing things that you can think while you're doing. Now, the main thing that I want to address here is movies and long-form TV shows. If I tried to sell them to you, nobody would ever buy them. If I said, you can sit down, look at something, you can be completely immersed in it for like an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. You don't think because you're paying full attention to the thing. You're listening to it. It's full audio-visual. Just imagine you put yourself in a space where you don't think. But it's not meditative. It's not good for you. It won't help you come to any profound realizations. It's just... You can put yourself in a stupor. It's just like that. Nobody wants that. Consuming lots of fiction, I don't like it. Other people do. I haven't watched movies. I haven't watched a movie in years. I don't read any fiction books. The only kind of fiction I consume is a kind of fiction that I can participate in. I think that's the best way to do it. But I'm still working on phasing fiction out. Obviously, not for everybody. So, why is it important to be self-aware? Well, spiritually, it's super, super important to recognize this is spiritual psychosis. It's important to know what you're experiencing is real or not real, basically. It's important to... self-awareness is a big contributor to spiritual development as well. But, yeah. Politics, as well, really, really important. People just believe what the news says, and takes it. And I know that might sound like a cliche conspiracy thing to say, but it's not, because there are lots of people who just scroll through TikTok or whatever. It's not the news anymore. It's just random people on TikTok. You need to actually think about the content that you consume, because other people are putting their agendas into it. And if you are not thinking, hey, these are people who, with their agendas who are putting it into the content that I consume, and I'm consuming it and not thinking about it. If you're not thinking about it, then that's a problem. And you are replacing ideas with ideas of your own. So, I'll give you 1 second. So, also, important thing on social media, I know that people see the Duolingo account and a whole load of other accounts. This is the main strategy, to be wacky and cool and kind of edgy. Let me get one thing clear. These people are not going against their bosses. These people are not getting emails from their bosses saying, oh, you went too far this time. They're not. That's not happening. What is happening is these people are bringing in insane amounts of publicity for just being a bit wacky. And that's then turned into a genuine cold strategy where they get as many people in as possible. And then when they make press releases and things, everybody sees them because everybody's following that. Pseudo-personal remarks. You know, I just did this. I'm going to get fired, like the post, so I don't get fired. But they're not going to get fired. They're never going to get fired. It's coldly targeted at you. So if you do not think while you are scrolling through TikTok or whatever, then you are being milked. Bit of a weird way to word that, but whatever. So, if things are not done in freedom, they have not been done by you. So, I'm going to give this has been a short one actually, but whatever. I'm going to give you a couple of exercises to take home and to do. So when you're doing something, just something that you do in your everyday life, you need to look at these, and you need to look at what you're doing, and it has to be boring. That's the thing. It has to be something you do every single day or every week or something. When you go shopping, when you're buying something, when you're going into like I don't know, just something you do all the time, and it doesn't matter. You need to single something out that's like menial, and you know it's just something. And you need to ask yourself these questions. What is this? How did it originate? What am I doing here? Could I be doing something else? Does doing this cause more good than bad? If it causes good or bad, then who for? Does doing this limit my freedom in any way? Do I actually want to be doing this? Who else would want me or not want me to do this? It's a basic, but it's a good exercise. So yeah. One other thing as well. When you are developing new ideas, it is very, very important that you do them in a very specific way. Obviously, everybody is working on what data, in quotes, they have about something. But it's not... but there are many perspectives and things that are kind of plaguing independent thought. You need to think about things with no, and this is difficult to get to a phase where you can do this, but you can try. You need to think about things with no preconceived notions about them whatsoever. You need to look at these things and say, is this good, is this bad? And you need to know when to say, hey, this is me. Or this is somebody else. Yeah, it's important that you can distinguish between your thoughts, what you genuinely believe, and what somebody else believes. It's that simple. So when forming new ideas, you never want to take anything's dogma. You never want to just cast everything out because you don't believe it, and you never want to what's it called? You never want to just blindly believe everything. That's important. You need to just go in, unbiased, say, is this good, is this bad? Address every single individual point. So don't just write all of it off. Don't say all of this is good. Address it all individually. Think about it. Take it home. Chew on it a little bit. I think of it in terms of an AI. Like, you are given an idea, something to think about. You compare and contrast it to what you know, what you've experienced. You're objectively, coldly, warmly, and then you eventually come to a conclusion, and that conclusion is the output, and you know a bit more. So that's everything that I was going to address today. So, self-awareness is important. Make sure the things that you do, the things that you believe, make sure it's you and not anybody else that's doing that, that's believing things for you. That's the important part. And it is very important to be self-aware. And it's not something, it's a process. The scouting is something that you have to do on your own. You have to find your own path, and you have to do it. You have to follow it. Anyway, guys, that's it. If you're watching on the YouTube, join the Discord server if you would like to see more stuff like this. If you wouldn't, that's fine. I hate you. I'm joking. But yeah. So, Discord server. If you just Google Rosefolk, Rosefolk, or look in the description. There's probably a link in the description. Give it a go. We have events like this, but we also do discussions and things. We've got text channels and voice channels and study groups and a whole lot more. And it's growing and growing every day. So, thank you for coming. I will see everybody next time.